Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success, episode 167 on this fabulous Friday morning. Good to see everybody with us here today. Matt, I was just telling you before the show, I went old school with the old headphones here. Couldn't find my other ones, and I like these better anyways. It make me feel like a pilot or something. I need a little yoke here. But happy Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. It's good to see you. And of course, this is Friday, one of our most popular shows, and we talk about family and relationships, something that affects everyone. We're going to be diving into a bunch of questions this morning that relate to family, some parenting, and maybe talking about failed relationships. So you want to stick around for that. It's good to see everybody here. Good morning, Matt. How are you today? My time.
Mike, it's a good day, my friend. Oh, good to see Shane Spiller. Shane, Mike, and I talk about you in a good way every time we're together, man. We miss you, buddy. Miss having you around Mission 25. Good to see Tommy Turner, regular Fuel for Success attendee. Mike, dude, I did something unique last night.
What's that?
I turned my phone off at about 9:30 because here's what I've been doing lately. Now that Caleb's starting school, so he's a very high energy person like I am, right? Which means it's hard for him to go to bed early. And I realize the value of good sleep when you're in school, right? Well, even period. So I've learned that I've had to get in this routine, which we talked about earlier on this week, of preparing him for good sleep. And I've learned that really to have a good night's rest, you got to prepare for it. So I'll turn off all the lights and I'll light some candles, and I have this special spray that's called Sleep, and it smells really refreshing. It's from Bath and Body Works. It's really good. It's got lavender and chamomile in it. So I'll spray the room. I'll spray the bed. I'll make some chamomile tea, have them drink some tea. And then, of course, there's no computers, no TV, no movies, no phone, no nothing an hour before I want him to go to bed. So anyways, this is for the first time ever, not ever, but for the first time in a long time, I put my phone on airplane mode at 9:30, and I fell asleep at 10 and slept till 7. So that was 9 hours of sleep?
Wow.
Well, the unique thing is I never woke up. I think I woke up one time. Usually I wake up 4 or 5 times throughout the night. And my whole point in saying this is sometimes I think even the very act of having our phone on, even if it's on silent, I don't know if it's a psychological thing, but I think it affects people getting into the deep sleep that they need to be in. Maybe this is for our health and weight loss show. But having said that, it felt good. It felt really good. Now, I can't do that all the time, obviously. It's one of those things where it's God, it's hard to imagine your phone being off. What if somebody you love needs you? Definitely can't do it if Caleb's not with me, because the idea of him needing to get a hold of me in the middle of the night for whatever reason and my phone going straight to voicemail just doesn't feel good. You know what I'm saying? So that's a tough little balance there. You feel that?
I've got a quick technology tip for you. If you've got an iPhone, you can set a thing called privacy mode that only 1 or 2 numbers will ever ring through. So we can talk about that later, maybe. But
ooh, yeah, definitely going to tap into that. So, anyways, having said all that, I want to open the show with the opening thought that I had this morning. I've been thinking about good vibes and bad vibes. Have you ever gone into an environment and something just didn't click? Have you ever been around somebody and you can't explain it? You even say the words, something just don't feel right, right?
Right.
You meet somebody, or maybe your kid brings home his little buddy from school, and you're like, something just ain't clicking here. Maybe your daughter's first boyfriend, or maybe your son's first girlfriend. Well, one of the number one things that I've tried to teach my son from way early on, I've tried to brainwash him into trusting my intuition as a dad and trusting my vibe, my feeling. Because, a lot of times we have a rational mind, right? And sometimes our rational mind conflicts with what goes on inside here. So the whole reason I said that is because this summer Caleb was hanging around somebody that I didn't feel good about. There just wasn't a good vibe there. And I just want to throw out there to all of my friends, everybody that's watching Feel for Success, don't ignore those inner intuitions, that feeling of a bad vibe, because oftentimes that is a gift that God has given you to help you navigate through life. Because there's a lot of times that, like, you could say to your daughter or to your son or to your wife, you say to your wife, I don't feel good about that guy that you work with. It's something about him that doesn't feel right. Now, some spouse, that's so stupid. Like, don't be jealous, right? But it's not even about that. It's about the fact, or even some of you wives might look at your husband and say, you know what, I don't feel right about that girl there, that, whatever, right? So a lot of times, believe it or not, these vibes, these intuitions, we call them, instincts, they're actually right. And many times, in fact, most of the time, they're right. And I just think that we need to start paying more attention to them, because a lot of times you can't even explain a vibe. You can't even explain an intuition. But if I say, Mike, we've had people that we've contemplated bringing on staff, right, or bringing in our inner circle, that when you write it on paper, it's a perfect fit. But then you're like, something's just not clicking there, man. I can't explain it, And I think, being that this is our show on family and relationships, this is actually good for people to remember, even when it comes to, like what we talked about yesterday, hiring people. You got to go with your gut feeling, So anyways, I don't know why. I just wanted to open the show with that, because that's what I was thinking about this morning when I was driving home from my son's school.
Well, that's a great point, and definitely something that factors into relationships, and I agree totally. Don't ignore that. There's a lot of things that happen, physiologically. We have a spirit person that, is able to pick up on spiritual things, and then also our subconscious mind picks up massive cues on a subconscious level based on body language, voice inflection, and things that we don't necessarily perceive, but it gives us that intuition or that feeling. And so that's where that instinct comes from those two areas. And there's research on those that support exactly what you're saying. So great stuff.
The hardest thing to do as a parent is to tell your kid, I don't feel right. There's sometimes that my son will come say, can I stay the night at so-and-so's house? I'm like, you know what, Caleb? No, no, buddy, not tonight. And then, of course, kids, why, Dad? Why? I'm like, you know what, son? To be real with you, just don't feel right about it. Not a good feeling right here. And, of course, now he's learned to trust that. Took a while, though. Took a while when there would be times that say, Caleb, I just don't feel right about that, And, that when it comes to making decisions in your life, that's got to be your number one thing that you turn to, is your intuition and the vibes that you get inside, that feeling. We all have it. We all have what we call the gut feeling, all of us. And that gut feeling, I've learned, Mike, you know what? Actually, I call it our silent partner. Our gut feeling is a gift from God. That intuition, I can honestly tell you, out of 100 times I've had a gut feeling about something, I was right 99.5% of the time. Like, that's how on it's been. So now I'm learning in life, when I feel that check, that instinct, that intuition, to follow it. Hey, good to see Carlos. Carlos, my friend, it's been forever, man. We miss you, buddy. Anyways, Mike, take us away. We can talk about that forever, of course, but just a good thing for every spouse to remember. If your spouse doesn't feel good about somebody of the opposite sex, honor that. You children out there that are listening, you teenagers, because we have a lot of teenagers and children that watch our show daily. Salute all of you, my friends. Listen, to all of you children and teenagers, when your mom or your dad tells you they don't feel right about something, let's say you go to say to your mom, can I take the car tonight and go to so-and-so's house tonight? Honey, not tonight, right? That ticks a lot of teenagers off. Maybe God put it in that mother to have a check of not tonight, because maybe God saw a car accident happening in 15 minutes. We don't realize. Do you know how many times people have drowned and the moms have said, I just don't feel right about you going out to the lake today? I'm not kidding. I know this to be a fact. I can tell you 3 scenarios of people that I know where their kids have drowned, where the mom had a bad feeling. that day of them going out. So I've learned, Mike, when people that love me, whether, you, Caleb, there's been times Caleb's told me when I went to go date somebody, and maybe I introduced them. Like, you know what my number one thing is? I know we're not going to talk about dating today. You know what my number one guide is? My number one is as quick as I can, I want my son to meet them.
It's good.
Because even if he don't know that I'm thinking about dating her, I'll get him around her and I'll say, what do you think of her? Like kids are so, a kid's intuition is powerful. I mean, I just think, Mike, in our life, we've got to start tapping in to the people that we love. When they start saying things, I don't have a good feeling. Listen, just listen to it. Slow down and just listen to that. Many times that's God's way of speaking to you.
It's good. Hey, a couple quick housekeeping things here too. Welcome, Gary, first time on, and good to have you here. And everybody else that's new or watching for the first time, we typically get questions either during the show. You can type them in the chat box there and ask questions, or you can email them to me, mike@mattmaddox.com. Or you can actually even text them to us at 727-341-5599. How you like that? I remembered it today. And you can get those questions to us if you're thinking about it later. Maybe come up with a question for a Thursday show or something. Send those to us by either of those methods, and we'll be happy to get to them as quick as we can. Hey, we do have a few questions here that we have sort of on the back burner, Matt, and I want to get to them quick. And the first one that I have is, what lessons have you learned from any failed relationships? And it's kind of non-specific, but relationships in general that have failed. Share some lessons.
It doesn't always have to be a dating relationship. It could be a business. It could be a friend. Sure. It could be someone in your family. Like, how many of us have had situations where we're no longer even close to maybe a cousin, a grandma, your own father? You know, relationships fail. That's the first thing we got to understand, because there's humanity involved. Relationships fail, okay? So number one, probably the number one thing that I've learned in some of my failed relationships is almost all of the failed relationships, there was at some point a breakdown of communication. A lot of times in the failed relationships, I've learned that when you don't slow down and you think things through and you react. See, too many people, we talked about this earlier this week about being a reactionary person. Right. When you react without thinking, in fact, here's one for you. The Bible literally says, be swift to hear, slow to speak. That could almost solve every relationship conflict right there. Because most of us are quick to speak, slow to hear. How many times have you gotten into a confrontation with someone and someone is going purely based off of hearsay, assumption, rather than facts, rather than truth, rather than what really happened? And I've learned, Mike, that when you don't listen, like listening, a lack of listening is a relationship destroyer. Bottom line. So, another thing that I've learned is being defensive. When you're defensive, you can't heal hurt. When you get into a situation, relationship breaks down for whatever reason. You hurt somebody, they hurt you. When you don't listen and you get defensive and you don't say you're sorry, or you don't take responsibility for your actions. So is the question mistakes I've made? Is that what it is?
Lessons you've learned from failed relationships.
Lessons I've learned. Yeah, those are some of the lessons I've learned, I would say. Major lesson of just not taking things personal, not getting defensive, listening more, wishing I would have slowed down and thought it through before I reacted, sending emails, sending text, instead of, in the mob, they call it a sit down. That's where they sit down and they talk about it and deal with it face to face, voice to voice, So those are a few lessons I've learned. What about you, Mike?
Well, a couple of things. And one is, and you touched on the one with the mode of communication. And communication is such a key to any relationship, but never like text or email when you should be making a phone call, and never have a phone call when you should be doing it face to face. And so you want to escalate your engagement level in the communication based on the scenario. So there's always opportunity for miscommunication in written language. There's obviously opportunity for miscommunication in verbal language as well. And you sort of have this escalating level of access that helps. When you can see someone, you're standing next to them, you can feel their vibe. Remember, we talked about that earlier, and you can read their body language, and it just clarifies things. The other thing that I would say, lessons that I've learned, is setting expectations and being clear about communication. A lack of clarity and a lack of setting expectations in a relationship can lead to a lot of misunderstandings. And just like Tommy said, sometimes we take things the wrong way. If we have a false expectation of a relationship, then all of the communication, all of the things that we see surrounding that relationship may be biased or slanted towards their perception of the expectation as opposed to mine. So if I'm looking at a relationship, and let's say in a business relationship, you're doing business with someone, and you have the expectation that they're just like a contractor, and they have the expectation that they're a partner, right? All of the communication is going to be viewed from a different perspective. It's going to lead to massive miscommunication, misunderstanding, and that will ultimately fail. So set the expectation and be clear in communication. I used to be a lot less clear in my communication than I am now, a lot less direct, and very sort of, I'm a sort of more deal in subtleties in communication mostly. And a lot of times, especially as a relationship begins to, if there's any tension at all, that's when you need to escalate clarity, not reduce it, and be more direct, because that's can sometimes make the difference between whether or not that relationship can survive. So
that's good. Very good. Mike, probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've made, now that we're talking about it and I'm thinking about it a little more clearly, is trying to make everybody a part of my inner circle. In other words, it's so my personality, because I'm a high quality relationship type person, that I literally so love people that one of my biggest lessons learned is no matter how bad you may want it, an inner circle is an inner circle for a reason. It's a small, even Jesus, and Jesus preached thousands. He loved everybody. I mean, nobody loved everybody like Jesus did. But the bottom line is he did not take everyone with him. The bottom line is he had an inner circle, then he had a really inner circle inside of that inner circle. I mean, I see people do this even in the dating world, Just because you're attracted to someone of the opposite sex and maybe you have a great first date doesn't necessarily mean it's the one, and you should even go a step further. Like, I've made mistakes in that area as well, in friendships, dating, where they're good people. It's not meant to go any deeper than this. You know what I mean? And I think that is a major lesson that everybody should take to heart. That not everybody can be your best friend. Not everybody can be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Not everybody can be your confidant. Not everybody. Another thing, Mike, you want to know the truth? Probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made is trusting people too easily. Now, we've all been burnt. We've all been burnt. You don't want to become critical or cynical, right? You really want to be emotionally healthy and whole. But, dude, trusting people too easy is one of my biggest downfalls and has cost me dearly. Because you want to be able to say something to somebody in confidence and know that when they're 80 years old and about to be put into the grave, that your confidence is going to be buried in the grave with them. And not another human being on this planet has heard what you share with them in confidence. You know what I also don't believe in? I would never let somebody tell me something in confidence about you, about a girl I was dating, about my brother, about a close friend. I don't believe in that. In fact, I believe that's actually a relationship destroyer. When you allow somebody to say, hey, I want to tell you something about Mike, but I don't want you to tell him. It's like, I'm done. I'm done with this. Right? I literally have made people feel this small, because as soon as they say that, I'll stop them. I say that I need you to know. You got to know I'm very passionate about this. The second you're done telling me, I'm picking up the phone and calling. I just need you to know. So if you don't want him to know what you're about to say, I'm not the guy to spill this to. I'm just not. Because I'm telling you right now, You cannot keep secrets from people that you love or from people that you're close to. It's an intimacy destroyer. So that's my thoughts.
So I want to just contrast real quick what you said, because you talked about trusting people too easily, and Amber made a comment which is about giving people the benefit of the doubt in case there is a failure of communication, and that's really two separate things. And what you're talking about, Matt, and trusting someone is giving someone your confidence, as opposed to like maybe I have a casual relationship with someone and then something happens and I'm like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, you know. And that is my take on it, is always to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, you know, this is America, right? So you're innocent until proven guilty. I will literally wait until I have proof that someone has, you know, intentionally done something, or, you know, that their intention of what they said or what they did was harmful or nefarious. So I'll always give people the benefit of the doubt, because I've seen miscommunication so many times, and it's so prevalent in our lives, that I'll just say, look, you know, they're a good person. I'm going to judge them based on what I know about them. This is probably an anomaly, and we'll move on. Anyway, but that's different than trusting someone, giving them your confidence in your inner circle. So just so we're kind of clear about that, I hope that helps. I also
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy said something which was great here, and differences in sense of humor. And I think we touched on this earlier this week, actually. Some people think one thing is humorous and another person is offended by. And humor can be, you know, and sarcasm and those sort of things can definitely be difficult in a relationship. And different people's perspectives they'll see sarcasm differently. In fact, we were talking about it earlier this week, and I meant to mention that my son and his girlfriend went with me to Fargo on Tuesday, and she literally said the words to him, "Your sarcasm makes me laugh half the time, and it hurts half the time."
That's powerful.
Did you hear that, son?
That's true.
Hey, let me.
That's good, Mike. It's so true. It's so true. I know people that are always sarcastic, and sometimes it is funny as heck, and sometimes it's like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And some people can't handle any of it, right? Some people are like, all sarcasm is like offensive to them. So there's different. I tend to try not, you know, unless I'm with someone that I really trust well, I try not to be sarcastic. I try not to use, definitely not any sort of humor that could be in any way offensive, just because I'm, you know, careful like that. But so let me ask you this. I've got a follow-up question that came in and we talked about broken relationships and lessons that we've learned from failed relationships. And you mentioned that sometimes it can be difficult for someone to heal after being hurt. How do you help someone heal that you have hurt in a relationship? Let's say, because we've all made mistakes. I know I've made mistakes in not being clear, you know, miscommunicating, not setting proper expectations, and then, you know, we end up with a broken relationship with somebody that maybe we were friends with or worked with. And how do you help that person heal after you know?
I can tell how not to help them heal. How you not help them heal? Let's first of all establish that. If you're gonna keep protecting your ego, and you're gonna keep defending yourself and justifying yourself rather than taking full responsibility, you'll never heal it, ever. Now, the real question is, these are people we've hurt, not an assumed hurt. Like I'm talking about, these are people that we actually hurt. I've been there on both sides, Mike. I've been the one that's hurt people deeply, and I've been on the side where I've been hurt deeply. All I can tell you is from what I've learned is, number one, if you value that relationship and you want to help heal it and you want to see that relationship heal, the number one thing that you need to do is take full responsibility for your actions. When you take full responsibility for your actions, not for 1 second do you justify or defend yourself. Mike, this is the number one mistake that I see people make in conflict. When I've done counseling, I mean, I spent 5 years as a pastor. Believe me, I did a lot of marital counseling with people. I would say to them, there's going to be no healing here until somebody takes full responsibility for your actions. The day that you take full responsibility for your actions means that your ego goes out the door. You look that person in the eyes with love, and you admit that they are right, that you hurt them. And that's number one, like telling the truth, like being honest. Yes, I did this. Most people, Mike, want to, like, we hate the thought of disappointing and hurting people we love, right? Secondly, you have to listen. Like, that person has got to be able to vent. That's not an easy part to healing. Listen, healing is tough. Do you know, for my son to have his staph infection healed, the doctor had to take a razor blade, numb his leg, take a razor blade, and cut it. Like, healing is not easy, my friends. The reason why most relationships don't heal is because there is a healing process. And it's brutal. It's tough. It's not easy. There's conversations there's things that's got to get off their chest. Like, to the person that's been hurt, they've got to be able to vent. They've got to be able to share that hurt without 1 ounce of you being defensive or harsh or cold or justify. Like, you've got to literally listen with compassion and understanding. Third thing is touch. Like, when they've finished pouring their soul out to you, if it's proper, you need to embrace that person. You need to hug them, touch them, let them, and then even saying, I'm so sorry. Like, that's the most you need to say until they ask you for an explanation. If they ask you for an explanation of why you did this, can I be honest? Most of the time, they really don't want to know why. It's their way of the hurt coming out. It's their way of just the wound. It's their way, and just say, I was so wrong. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. But when you start justifying and trying to make it feel better, that's not the way to make it feel better. You'll never heal it with a Band-Aid. You'll never heal it through justification and defensiveness or by being cold. If you go cold for 1 second, if you go distant for 1 second, if you get harsh with that person for 1 second, you will close their ability to open up to you again. They will not, and you cannot heal people that won't open up to you. So if they start to open up, you better grab that like your life depends on it. Again, Mike, this all depends. Do you value this relationship, whether it's your best friend, a spouse, a girlfriend, your kids? Like, some of you have devastated your kids. So, like, you've got to take these last few points that I've given, and you got to take them to heart if you want to heal that relationship. And then probably my last piece of advice would be to become the most consistent person on the universe in the actions opposite of what you did that hurt them. You know what I mean? Like, if you lied to them, like, you need to become the most consistent truth-telling person on the planet. Like, it can't even look like a lie. It can't even look like a deception. It can't smell like one. It's got to be so brutally honest from that day forward. Mike, what I just told, if you'll all listen to what I've said in the last 5 minutes, it could literally be the determining factor whether you save or lose a relationship. Whether it be a parent, a brother, a spouse, a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, your kids.
It's true. Hey,
and there's more I got to say. There's actually more I would say to this, but we're almost out of time.
At the end of the day, it's about whether you value that person. And if you place yourself in a higher value category than the person that you're interacting with, that will be apparent, and they will understand that. And when you value them as a person, then you're going to want to know how they're offended and how you can make it better. So balance out that value, value the other person as well as the relationship, which is the connection between the two of you, and that'll help. That's sort of a guiding principle to really everything that you just said. We definitely have more questions, but we're out of time, my friend.
Relationship, you'll do whatever it takes to heal, but listen, you're not going to heal in your own logic, and you're not going to heal. Listen, you ready for this? You know what I used to tell people that hurt me? I can show you how to heal. If you want to save me, I'm the one that can show you, but you got to listen. The problem is most people, Mike, are too stubborn. They have too much of an ego, and they're too selfish. And that's the bottom line, and that's why God is probably pulling you from them in the first place. because they're not a safe person. If people aren't safe people, you don't want them in your life anyways, and that's hard to accept. It's hard to accept, but you need to go read the book called Safe People. Some people, Mike, are not safe. They're not safe around you. They're not safe around your kids. They're not safe in your inner circle. They're not safe to marry. They're not safe. Listen, I've got family members, Mike, that are not safe people. So you know what I do? I love them at Christmas time. I eat, hors d'oeuvres with them. I might even give them a Christmas card. I might laugh with them, but then I'll say in my mind, see you next Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm a jerk. It's because they're not safe people. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. That's how it is, my friends. I wish I could give you some, politically smooth cookie cutter answer, but there's not. That's the truth about people. Some people are not safe.
Exactly right.
Well, it's Friday, my friends. Great week of Fuel for Success, Mike. We'll be back Monday. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Have a great weekend. Have fun. We'll look forward to seeing you guys on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Fuel for Success show about your favorite health and weight loss. God bless, my friends, and you guys enjoy your weekend. And thank you for you that watched live. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And then those that are watching later throughout today and the rest of this weekend, watching the archives, we really appreciate that as well. God bless y'all.
We'll see you Monday.